Hey, friends. I keep thinking about this question of what does it look like to walk in the life and power of God? And I'm mindful of the fact that it's possible because the presence of God is alive within us, that inward light of Christ that is available to us and able to change us and empower us for those who abide in it and receive it. That inward light of Christ is a source of truth and power and unity. And the truth gets revealed to us and through us, as I mentioned last time, by sometimes revealing those places in our lives that are in need of healing and in need of transformation, the shadow side or sinful side of ourselves. But we're way more complex than that. We're not just broken, bruised, and battered. I think above all, we are beloved. And that's one of the revealing truths that come to us when we're willing to be in that and engage that light of Christ. But I think this is a reality, at least in my experience, and in talking to countless other people, this is a hard one for us to accept, let alone experience. If you grew up like I did, you often heard the message that you are not good enough, that you're somehow inaccessible or unacceptable, and you fail to meet expectations. I heard often that sorry wasn't good enough. So even when I made a mistake, it was like there was nothing I could do because sorry wasn't good enough. And so there's this living in with this endless sense of being unworthy and unacceptable. But then along came grace, and something in me cracked open. I began to experience the love and the welcome and the acceptance of God in ways that I really never had in other ways. And so something in me began to change. But the problem is when you hear those messages throughout your whole life that you're no good or not very good, you begin to believe it and you begin to act that way. And it's a real challenge to overcome that. So along the way, I became acquainted with this Ignatian prayer exercise that was really simple but incredibly life-transforming for me. And basically, it's your willingness to sit in the presence of God and open yourself up and ask that you might begin to see yourself as God sees you. Just sit there and wait. And so I did this for months on end, and I still do it now regularly. But for a long period of time, I would just sit each morning and say, God, help me see you. Help me see myself as you see me. And sometimes I had to sit there for the longest time because all I could see in and of myself was somebody who was unworthy. But the longer I sat there, eventually what I heard inwardly was a voice that said, you are my beloved son. You are my beloved child. And that message, that experience of understanding myself, of understanding the truth that I am somehow beloved, changed nearly everything for me. Instead of feeling defensive all the time or worried about what other people thought or feeling like I needed to somehow prove myself to others, the only reality that mattered was I knew deep in my bones that I'm in fact God's son, God's beloved one, and you are God's daughter, and you are God's son. So I want to encourage you as you think about letting the inward light of Christ be a source of truth for you, that you take some time and sit in God's presence and be open to raise this question of, how do you see me, God? Because again, in my experience, what I've heard time after time and what I've seen other people experience relentlessly, reliably, is the sense that they come to know in themselves that they are God's beloved. So let the truth set you free, because that's what Jesus says it does. And may you be free from those messages that say, you're no good, you're unworthy, you're broken. God bless you.